He made one mistake, Dad said, taking my car keys. 10 years later, my sales manager approached. Mrs. Davis, your parents are here, but their credit was declined. I glanced at the luxury dealership I owned and said, show them to the waiting area. The uncomfortable chairs near the service bay, not the customer lounge. I'll be there when I'm done with this deal. I turned back to my client, a tech executive signing papers for his third Porsche. My hands were steady as I walked him through the documentation, but my mind raced back to that night 10 years ago when my father had taken my keys without even looking me in the eye. I was 23, working 2 jobs to save for nursing school while living at home to cut costs. The Honda Civic wasn't fancy, but it was mine, bought with 3 years of waitressing tips and weekend shifts at the hospital. It got me to work, to school, to the life I was building one careful step at a time. Then Brandon got arrested. My older brother, the golden boy who'd peaked in high school, caught selling stolen electronics out of his friend's garage. The bail was set at $15,000. We don't have that kind of money, Mom had cried at the kitchen table. We have options, Dad said quietly, and I knew from his tone that my life was about to get harder. What options? I'd asked, though I already felt the answer in my bones. Your car, Jasmine. Blue Book value is $18,000. We sell it, bail out Brandon, and have money left for a lawyer. My car? The one I need to get to work. To school. He made one mistake, Dad said, taking my car keys from the hook by the door. One mistake shouldn't ruin his whole life. What about my life? I have classes starting in 2 weeks. Take the bus. Millions of people do it every day. The bus doesn't run to the hospital at 5 a.m. or from the restaurant at midnight. Then figure something else out, he'd snapped. Your brother is sitting in jail right now. You're worried about a little inconvenience. It's not a little inconvenience. It's my car. My property. Mom had started crying harder. How can you be so selfish? He's your brother. And I'm your daughter. Doesn't that count for something? Brandon needs us more right now, Dad said with finality. The decision is made. I'm selling the car tomorrow. You can't. It's in my name. That's when he'd pulled out the papers. Actually, it's in both our names. Remember? For insurance purposes when you were under 25. I co-signed, which means I can sell. I'd forgotten. That small detail, that parental help with insurance rates, had given him the power to destroy my independence. Please, I'd begged. I'll lose my job. I'll have to drop out of school. Then you'll figure it out. You're smart. Brandon needs more help. Brandon is a thief. The slap came fast, Mom's hand connecting with my cheek before I could dodge. Don't you dare, she hissed. He's your brother. They sold my car the next morning while I was at work. I came home to find an envelope with $2,000 on my bed. For transportation expenses, the note said. The rest went to Brandon. Family helps family. I lost both jobs within a month. Turns out, I'll figure out the bus schedule. Doesn't work when buses don't run during your shifts. I dropped my classes, couldn't get to campus reliably. My carefully constructed life fell apart piece by piece, all for Brandon's one mistake, which turned into 2 mistakes. Then 3. The charges were dropped on a technicality, but Brandon didn't learn. Why would he? He'd learned that consequences were for other people. His mistakes were always someone else's problem to solve. I moved out with my $2,000 and a burning determination to never depend on them again. Lived in my friend's garage, bought a bicycle, found a job at a 24-hour diner within riding distance. Every night, I served coffee to truckers and studied automotive magazines left behind in booths. Cars. They'd taken mine, so I became obsessed with them. Not just as transportation, but as symbols of freedom, independence, success. I read everything: consumer reports, industry journals, repair manuals. When a regular customer mentioned his dealership needed a receptionist, I jumped at it. You know anything about cars? The manager had asked. Everything, I'd said, and proceeded to prove it. I started as a receptionist, but within 6 months I was selling. Turns out, when you've lost everything to 4 wheels, you understand viscerally what cars mean to people. I could sell that feeling: freedom, security, possibility. My first commission check was more than I'd made in a month at the diner. My 10th made me realize I'd found my calling. By year 3, I was the top salesperson in the state. By year 5, I had investors interested in backing my own dealership. Luxury only, I'd insisted. The kind of cars that change lives. Like yours was changed? My business partner had asked. Exactly. but in reverse. Davis Luxury Motors opened 7 years after my father took my keys. We specialized in high-end vehicles for successful women, executives, entrepreneurs, women who'd earned their independence and wanted to drive it. Brandon, meanwhile, had compiled quite a record. Theft, fraud, a brief stint for assault. Each time, my parents scrambled to bail him out, hire lawyers, make excuses. They sold their boat, remortgaged the house, drained their retirement. He just needs another chance, became their mantra. Well, they'd run out of chances. And money. And now they were here, in my dealership, with declined credit and desperation in their eyes. I finished with my client, watched him drive away in his new 911, then made my way to the waiting area. They looked older, grayer, smaller. Mom clutched her purse like a life preserver. Dad stared at his hands. "Jasmine," he started. "It's Mrs. Davis here," I said coolly. "How can I help you?" "Our car died," Mom said quickly. "On the highway. It's in your service bay." "The 1998 Corolla?" I'd already checked. "That'll be about $4,000 in repairs." "Engine's shot." $4,000. Dad's voice cracked. "Could be more once they get in there. Or you could look at our pre-owned section. We have some nice options starting around $40,000. "40, Jasmine, you know we can't afford that." "Then I'm not sure how I can help you." "We need a car," Mom pleaded. "Just something basic. Maybe you could work something out. A payment plan. I run a business, not a charity. Your credit was declined, which means you're overextended. I can't in good conscience sell you a car you can't afford. But we're your parents. Were you my parents when you sold my car? When you chose Brandon's bail over my education? That was different." "How? How is it different?" "Because it benefited Brandon instead of me." Dad's jaw tightened. He made one mistake. "One? Should I pull his record?" 23 arrests, Dad. "That's not one mistake. That's a career. And you funded it with my future." "We did what we thought was right," Mom said weakly. "You did what was easy. Brandon cried, and you gave him whatever he wanted. I planned and saved and worked, and you took it because you could. So you're punishing us?" Dad asked. "I'm treating you like any other customer with bad credit and no down payment. That's not punishment. That's business. Where's your heart?" Mom demanded. "We're stranded. Take the bus," I suggested calmly. "Millions of people do it every day." The words, their words, hung in the air like a slap. "That's cruel," Mom whispered. "That's literally what you told me. When I explained I'd lose my job, my education, my future, you told me to take the bus. So take your own advice. The buses don't run to our neighborhood," Dad said quietly. "Then figure something else out. You're smart. Jasmine, please. We're desperate. I was desperate too. 23 years old, watching my future get sold to fund Brandon's mistakes. Where was your mercy then?" "We're sorry," Mom cried. "We're so sorry. We see now. You see now because you need something. That's not enlightenment. That's desperation." My sales manager approached. "Mrs. Davis? The service department needs approval for the diagnostic fee. $200. "They can't afford it," I told him. "Cancel the diagnostic. Have the car towed to the street." "Jasmine," Dad stood. "You can't just." "I can. My dealership, my rules. The same way it was your signature, your rules when you sold my car." "What happened to you?" Mom asked. "You used to be so loving. I used to have a car, and a future, and parents who valued my dreams. You took all of that to bail out Brandon. How is he, by the way? Still making one mistake? They couldn't meet my eyes. That's what I thought. He's probably in jail right now, isn't he? And you can't bail him out because you spent everything on his previous mistakes." 6 months, Dad admitted. "Fraud. His lawyer says with good behavior." "There won't be good behavior. There never is. Because you taught him that consequences are for other people. That his sisters, his parents, everyone else should sacrifice for his comfort." "You don't understand," Mom started. "I understand perfectly. I understand that you sold my independence for his irresponsibility. That you chose his criminal present over my lawful future. That you literally drove away my dreams and handed him the cash. One car. One car that cost me 2 jobs, my education, my stability. Do you know what I went through? Living in a garage? Biking 10 miles in the rain to serve coffee? Studying by flashlight because I couldn't afford electricity. We didn't know. Because you didn't ask. You were too busy visiting Brandon in jail to notice your daughter had disappeared. Silence stretched between us, filled with 10 years of absence. So what now?" Dad asked finally. We just walk home. Call a cab. Call a friend. Call Brandon. Oh wait, you can't. Because he's in jail. Again. This is revenge, Mom accused. No. This is consequences. You taught me that family means sacrifice. Well, I sacrificed. Now it's your turn. I pulled out my phone, transferred $2,000 to their account. What's this? Dad asked, checking his phone. The same amount you gave me after selling my car. For transportation expenses. Should cover a few Ubers. Jasmine, we're done here. Security will escort you out. Wait, Mom called. Do you ever think you'll forgive us? I stopped at the door to my office, corner office, overlooking my lot full of dreams on wheels. I forgave you years ago, I said quietly. Forgiveness was for me, not you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And it definitely doesn't mean giving you another chance to choose Brandon over me. We've learned. Have you? Because you're here asking for special treatment again. Not because you value me, but because you need me. Just like Brandon needed bail. The only difference is, I'm not in jail. I'm in a position to say no. You're our daughter. I was your daughter when you took my keys. Now I'm a business owner who learned never to co-sign anything with family. I left them there and returned to my office. Through the window, I watched them slowly make their way to the street, past the rows of luxury cars they couldn't afford, toward the bus stop they'd recommended to me all those years ago. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. You're a cold bitch, the text read. Mom called crying. When I get out, we need to talk about family loyalty. Brandon. Somehow, even from jail, it was still all about him. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Then I called my accountant. I want to set up a program, I said. Interest-free car loans for young women whose families have financially sabotaged them. Call it the Second Chance Fund. That's specific. And generous. It's necessary. Some of us have to figure it out when family fails us. I want to make that journey easier. Personal experience? The most personal. My parents sold my car to bail out my brother. It nearly destroyed my future. But you made it. I made it because I had to. But not everyone is that lucky. Or that angry. Angry. Fury is a hell of a motivator. But success is the best revenge. I hung up and looked at my wall of awards. Dealer of the Year, Businesswoman of Excellence, Community Leader. All achieved without them. Because of them. In spite of them. My parents would make it home. They'd figure it out. They were smart, after all. And Brandon? He'd serve his time, get out, make another mistake. The cycle would continue until they ran out of things to sell. But that wasn't my problem anymore. Hadn't been since the day they took my keys and told me to figure it out. I figured it out, all right. I figured out that the best way to ensure no one could ever strand me again was to own the whole damn dealership. And now, when they needed wheels, all I had to offer was the advice they'd given me. Take the bus. Millions of people do it every day, including one 23-year-old girl who'd lost her car to her brother's bail and found an empire in exchange. Not a bad trade, really. Not bad at all. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.